Something what?
Neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah. So like you do a test.
Like the wall is good in there?
Yeah.
Exit sign? I can leave that to you.
I'm actually over here. I'm going to be sitting right here.
Would you like me to run the computer so you can be up there and you can see you? People want to see you. Nope.
No, it's kind of hard. It's like, yeah, I think so. Yeah. I kind of just want people to hear. I don't want people to see. It's not fun. My hobby's not part of this work. Okay. They're going to be looking at, there's so much, there's images and there's stuff for people to read. So I kind of packed it in mind that like people were either in a meditative place or watching. But I still like the round little thing.
Those need to be on your phone. I work
For obvious reasons. Stay on shelf.
Otherwise, we'll get it on the mic and it'll be this.
Yeah. Feedback.
Yeah.
So, no Tony Ann, we haven't heard from Tony Ann.
I have heard from her. She's on her way.
I was like, you get it back. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? So I have it on notes. These are supposed to be my presenter notes. So there should not, you should not be able to see them.
You should have it in two screens.
I think that's something that you have to toggle
You should have it in two screens. Right now you're mirroring screens.
Yeah.
Oh, so I
And
have
the display.
We have to, change the arrangement. So we go back to the little apple.
We need to make sure that
And the system preferences. Second one. And then display, the arrangement in the middle, you can display color. Click off in your displays. Okay. And so here we go. Now we have to
not do it again.
go back and see which one is where it's due.
or where you need to be or that.
May not like this so much. Okay, come up with this. Escape out of the slides. Find the screen. Sometimes it takes a little
some blue tape in there? Maybe not.
Spike tape?
Yeah, it's on the counter.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Just give it to me.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so that's yours. And you have a little bit there. I want more widths.
Right. I'm sorry, Julian's that. Okay.
The alternative is if there's another laptop I can use, I can just be on there and send later.
Oh, she was around.
Yeah, let's ask Fernando. Fernando has a second map.
So we can put all the chairs over here right now, and then when we're sitting, like, talk about this.
I don't have PowerPoint, so you can't download it on my computer, but if you could download it on another one.
Map equivalent to PowerPoint? And then the last So, I think the options are, they're not necessarily great. It's time for them to get them to use, bring other laptops and they can use that read the notes. And then we do this mirror, so you know, instead of seeing the images. And then, so it's not pretty, you have to switch from here as needed if you need to use your video there. It is it's not supposed to be fully realized. Likewise, I know that would be like an ideal to get it as smooth as possible. It's really the format that we have here in terms of presentation. It could be okay.
But I'm not worried about it, I just wanna figure out whatever it is and do it so that we can test sound and
Yeah,
get
so
the
we can
mic out.
just right now. So if you want to play something that has sound,
Great,
and it has a mic in clear for you,
great.
so that's ready for you. So let's do that's out first.
Okay. Another sound.
You may want to raise it just a little bit because the audience is behind the main speaker.
Okay.
So it's a little louder. So they hear it. Fernando. Because of course you're using that one.
This is mine.
Okay, if we could use the marketing laptop for Nia, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, I brought mine just in case.
Okay, thanks very much.
Playing together. That's gone too. That's gone too.
Where do you need it?
Right here would be great. Thank you so much. And over here.
Can I ask you guys to just speak for me a little bit?
Gone. The way that was gone. And all that we had planned together.
Never mind.
All that we had planned together. That's gone too. That's gone too. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. Really.
Soon the snail shell will be inside.
Great. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We can pretty loud.
You get much louder than that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll be able to adjust. Thank you. Oh,
Yeah, I need the other. Thank you.
yes, you can.
She's at Atlantic, so whatever the just worked out. Okay.
That was good. On your, for the live stream.
All right.
Okay, so all of your sound, works out, Nina?
Yeah, it seems like the sound is fine.
Okay, great. So I'm going to, switch the displays again so it's mirrored.
So does that, so I'll have to still navigate into this, but obviously it'll be better than having the whole thing.
I mean, the other thing we can do is that we can bring a music player in here, unless, does your video have sound?
Oh, I see what you're saying, to play the music from this one.
Yeah, so we don't see you flipping back and forth, but that's the embedded video. So that's the one.
It's fine, I'll just switch, it's just literally, it's the tab next to it, it's not.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, let's switch the displays, and then if you could just turn off the notes on this one, and then turn it on there. Mirror.
Thank you.
Hey folks, where are we at?
We're just figuring out to do a double up on the computer because of a tech issue. The presenter view not showing up, so I have to double it up on the other screen. So I'm just pulling it up, so
All right.
2 minutes probably. And also my actor is delayed, but because I'm talking first, so it should be okay.
Okay, okay.
I'm just going to follow through a bit to see what the videos look like. Is this production happening at the same time that lights are up? Because this is the dimmest level we
No.
currently set.
So if lights could be out during this part, that'd be great. Yeah.
Can we even have like a script or anything? Or like if you could just,
I'll just
Tell
say,
me.
yeah, I'll just be talking out loud. Yeah.
thank you.
You can also just communicate when you're right here, right? Yes.
We're also able to take this down too.
Yes, it's just so that we can see and have work at the same time.
Can I move the ladder somewhere? Do you still need it?
I will put it on the side so it's where I can find it to turn the projector off if you need me to do
We don't need that anymore.
Okay, great. I'll put it away. 1 second.
So did we test the mic yet?
Not yet. I mean, I tested it for myself, but we can test it with your voice.
Okay. Test, 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 test,
How does that sound?
test, test. Can you go over there, babe? Test, 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 test. That's fine? Hello? Hello, hello. Should it be a little louder or it's good? Okay, thank you.
Take the ladder away now.
Nice to meet you too.
Same name.
Right. You can't forget that.
You can't forget it, baby. So I'm gonna put it on present now on mine. It wasn't, it was on the regular presentation. All right. Ready? Ready as I'll ever be.
Is there someone that will introduce it for me?
Maria's gonna introduce, yeah.
So you guys are ready?
Yeah.
Y'all ready? You wanna make a circle? Cause you look like you, when you said that, you might wanna make a circle.
Call her up, tell me. Yeah, okay.
residency program supports 6 artists who are either dance or theater or performance artists, or depending on the week or the month or the part of the project that they're working with, lean in a different direction. And they not only develop the work of some of which you will see today over the course of the year, but I think the most unique part of the group is that they're also both revealing and learning about themselves, and themselves in relationship to the work obviously is very, very important. But at BAX we are really vitally interested in what happens beyond that. So they meet regularly every 4 to 6 weeks. They become a cohort group, which is a lot more than a church. It's a support group. It's a safe space. It's and I put quotations because we use that both literally and specifically. We give a lot of definitions of that. And I'm only sharing that with you because this is one of many parts of a year-long residency. So I'm going to let Witherspoon, who is doing this first hour, share a little bit more specifically about what's going on. But in terms of the day itself, there are 3 more open studios following this. We have a room that is courting you to stay all day. We'll keep putting new things in it. So so now you can kind of lean into the coffee and tea. Later on, you can lean into the wine and beer. We'll do it very extensively. Lots to eat, lots of conversation. We'll start music later. So you really don't need to go anywhere.
Sunday church.
That's right, Sunday church. It actually kind of looks like it. I won't take more time. A fantasy of mine. But anyway, I'm thrilled to have you with us. If you could turn off your cell phones, that would be great. We are live streaming today. We're experimenting with this day twofold. One, to make sure, and hi to our friends out there, people who could not be here today or can't make it up our steps will be able to share in the shows today. And we're experimenting with the way we're doing it to see if we can do it all season long. If this one doesn't work out so well, we'll try another method. But we're going to do it all day long. It also becomes an archive and a record for the artists whose work we're sharing in today. So that's great too. If you are new to our space, and you'll know you are if you don't get a lot of emails from us. So if you get a lot of emails from us, don't pay attention to the next part. If you don't, there's a clipboard in the room that has all the wine and the beer and the coffee and the tea and all that. If you could please tell us who you are and how to get in touch with you, we can also share what else is going on this year in terms of these artists, but also if you're an artist yourself, artist opportunities that come up throughout the year. So, Mia, do you want to say a few words or not?
Welcome.
Okay, so immediately after the presentation part of this, we're going to have a brief conversation, not so much a Q&A, but just kind of connecting with one another and connecting with the project, and then we can have more informal conversations with the coffee and tea. Okay, all right, thank you.
So welcome everyone to this space. Welcome to this journey. We're going to go on for a little moment together. I'm asking for you to just be in a space of presence and release. Barasuayo Omonyana wana mama Kenya irao
Barasuayo. Omoniana wana mama Kenya irao. Oh, Barasuayo. Seeing sky requires we pause, go upside down, disorient from the gravity of Earth, or sink into it, or bend backwards, head flung back, fighting it. I don't want to fall backwards and walk into the walls amongst the shadows. Watching them fall haunts me, especially the eyes. In the beginning, in the beginning, in the beginning, fuck the beginning. In the beginning, all things were possible. All things were possible, but no things were. In the two empty snail shells, there were neither birds nor spirits living in them. The primal cause, the prime mover, the rainbow and the snake created themselves. Olodumare. Olodumare, having created themselves, a glorious rainbow inside a giant, black, blackety black, shining, glowing black hole. Wanted so badly to keep creating, but alas, was too big and too powerful and needed an intermediary energy. So they willed together the three most sparkling elements of stardust. The Ho. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. They wished for luck. They wished for love.
They wished for ground, but there was nothing there. Eventually the Ho, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, grew weary. They returned to face Olodumare. I've been here and there and seen this and that. Been here and there and seen this and that. Been here and there and seen this and that. And all of these and those. Where is my home? And just as quickly as they asked, they were swallowed by Olodumare inside the snail shell where they stayed for millennia, humming, buzzing, vibrating, humming, buzzing, vibrating, humming, buzzing, vibrating, until the racket became too much and Olodumare exploded. The Big Bang, the Ho. So in the beginning of this process, I knew there was a door, a window, and a ladder. I knew there was a galaxy of goddesses that made us laugh so that later we could cry. When I came upon the story of the Ho, of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, I couldn't let it go. The idea of beings with so much to offer and nowhere to land who were subsequently trapped and had to find a way to release themselves was resonant for me as a Black queer woman living in and recovering from multiple levels of exile. Expansion, contraction, release. I learned from Xochipala Maez Valdez, a Yoruba priestess, and my research on the Ifa and Dilogoan corpuses of literature that this story of the Ho is cited only one time in the entire 4,000 pages. In the chapter called Osa Ogunda. This chapter honors Orisha Ogun, whose lesson is that evolution is harsh and always requires destruction. Ogun is the spirit of technology, trains, cars, trucks, buses, and now computers, tablets, and smartphones, Facebook Live. We have reached a historical moment where we, without public platform, can reach a public in a matter of instance. That public for Diamond Reynolds was 2.5 million viewers in less than 24 hours. The image of the Facebook post into the light, the Facebook post being the moment she became the goddess, walking up the steps, the music, diamonds all over my body. She has a diamond-encrusted phone, paparazzi glow and sparkle. That's the moment the Ho descend. The goddess becomes the human, and the human becomes the goddess. They all speak her words. Inquiries. What is the relationship between the story of the Ho and Diamond Reynolds? How do the world of the goddesses trapped inside the snail shell collide head-on with Diamond and Philando on the night of July 6, 2016? What is the world like inside the snail shell, and where are their journeys parallel? What is the matrix of portals, doors, windows, ladders through which the Ho must pass in order to see and understand Diamond's truth, representative of the truth of human suffering? How do we keep joy, uplift, and healing inside the structure and content of the piece and its process so as not to engage in trauma porn or essentialize Black suffering? How can this piece embody its highest intention as a ritual of release? A couple of months ago, we had a workshop production of the first chronicle, Witness. So I'm going to share a bit about the method and process because we learned so much about the work and the way of working by diving deep into the indigenous cosmologies and work with the body. The first method is following the images. So as I mentioned very early on in the process, I kept seeing a door, a window, and a ladder. They were all portals and ways for us to traverse worlds in materiality, but also in symbol and spirit. I was really interested in where these different portals could take us, so playing with these portals has been crucial to our process in rehearsal and also in my own writing. It's also become important to attend to mirrors and crossroads, two more portal accessing things. Following images has to do with a willingness to attend to them as a larger symbol system and seeing life as an ever-growing ability to crack the code. What is my relationship with these symbols? What is the thing that wants to be said? Odd things began to happen to me at crossroads with this piece, so that then shapes the content. A second image that I have been tracking since the beginning is called Shadow Man with Lights. Shadow Man with Lights appeared before the piece did, and this is a photo from the first open studio we did at New York Theater Workshop last year. Over time and following the messages that have been occurring at the crossroads and with these different portals, I came to understand him as holding a window. After a conversation with Carrie Mae Weems, one of my living goddess sheroes, which was a turning point in the work around giving myself permission, she referred me to this short film she did around Black folks and state violence. Here they were again, the windows. They seemed to be following me. That's when I understood that it was Shadow Man with the Lights who carried the window, which would be the portal that wisdom had to encounter in her journey. So in each deity, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, each has to encounter a particular portal in order to understand a crucial lesson about human suffering. Salud. Method number 2, the lineages and cosmologies. So this is the cosmogram. It is it is a visual representation of the graphic language of the Bantu Congo people. And it is a way of understanding our journey through the physical and metaphysical worlds. It moves counterclockwise. The black sun is when we are born into the physical world. The red sun is when we reach our pinnacle in the physical world. The white sun is when we pass into the spiritual world. The yellow sun is when we reach our pinnacle in the spiritual world. That is a very, very rich concept. The idea of reaching a pinnacle in the spiritual world so that we can then be born again to do our work in the next lifetime. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. There's a river which bisects two mountains. The river is called the Kalunga line. So that horizontal line in the middle is the Kalunga line, and that is the river that we must cross in order to access both worlds. Life, death, and return. There's a system of graphic writing that accompanies the Bantu Congo cosmology that also informs the piece. So oftentimes this graphic writing system is represented with ground drawings. They also traveled over to the Americas, and we can see them in the graveyards in the Carolinas, as well as in the Haitian veve, the ground drawings that are drawn with cornmeal or flour or sand or salt on the ground. And so we're really working with this graphic language and what it means to hold these symbols inside of the body. So one of our questions is, what does it look like to make a piece that embodies the cosmology through spatiality and physical language? What does it mean to be a believer? It means we have to jump out of the prison of our Western rationalist mindset and disbelieve in death, is what it means. Multiple lifetimes are our birthright. This is crucial medicine for the apocalypse. Kabiosile, the king did not hang. If water turns to ice, does the water still exist? If water turns to air, is it still water? If bone turns to dust, what becomes of the bone? If fire blows out, may a match still be struck? Kabiosile, the king did not hang. When the snake sheds its skin, does the snake still exist? So like the cosmogram, this writing is a study in changing forms, a reminder of how it is the nature of our material existence to shift and that it is a limitation in perception, the myopia of Western rationalism, an anthropocentric glitch, that humans are the exception to the shape-shifting nature of the rest of the universe. The story of Kawo, also known as Shango, Yoruba deity of lightning, former king. After he dies, it is said, the king did not hang. Kabiosile, the refusal of death, the proof of liveness in the dream. Visitations, we call them. Diamond Reynolds' daughter remembers as much in her deeply African understanding of her father figure. In true form to ancestor reverence, this 4-year-old child, who in the piece is named Diamond Will Be, describes how she makes food for Phil and places it out for him, and that he is actively a part of her life in the dream. She calls them God dreams. Another aspect of how lineage comes into being is our focus in the process on elders and ancestors. So we really think about and study timing and following both the legacies of those who have taught us, but also the legacies of those who are coming alive at crucial moments for the piece. So one example is, so just as we entered into our workshop production, 2 of our cast members, our dramaturg collaborating director had just Mayan Tiao, who you will meet in a second, as well as a cast member, Danny Chris, had encounters respectively with Diana Ross and Felicia Rashad. And I had just had one with Carrie Mae Weems, right? So they were in the room, right? Their legacies were very present and alive in the room. We were thinking about what are the medicines that these particular Black women are offering into this process. So timing matters. It's this same attentiveness and cracking the code. Just as we entered into our workshop production, also Aretha Franklin had just crossed over. And now, just as we enter this open studio, godmothers Ntozake and Maria have crossed. And it feels like a special relationship because Ntozake and Maria were each respectively the teachers of 2 of my most formative creative teachers, Sharon Bridgeworth and Chidi Moraga. My creative grandmothers, now on the other side. Crossing within this tradition means actually a different kind of access, not only related to chance encounter. You are crowned an ancestor in our tradition. It is a position of tremendous power and influence, remembering that pinnacle of death moment, right? Like it's a position of tremendous power and influence and space of collaborative action with the living. In our process, we hold up these legacies and invite active collaboration. Also, a book came into my life as I was preparing for the workshop production, Emergent Strategy, by Adrienne Marie Brown, and how she was framing things became really crucial to both the rehearsal process as well as this idea of carrying on elders, lineage, and ancestry. So Adrienne Marie Brown's work is based on looking at the creative and spiritual legacy of Octavia Butler and thinking about how Butler has left us with the tools to movement build in preparation for the apocalypse, how to survive in apocalyptic times and all of the possibilities embedded inside of crisis. This is also not at all coincidentally part of the symbol system that connects right back up to the Osa Ogunda chapter. That is precisely what the Osa Ogunda chapter is like. We have to remember this particular creation story of the Ho in times of crisis, destruction of civilization and rebuilding. So these are a few of the principles that Adrienne Marie Brown's emergent strategy studies, and it's really based around the patterns that nature is already offering. So fractal, this idea that the smaller structure must reflect the larger structure, that transformation is nonlinear and iterative, right? That it happens in these cyclical ways that sometimes look as if nothing's happening. So there's a different focus on stillness, resilience, and transformative justice, thinking about what happens when a community is harmed. What is the recourse, right? So all of these ideas inform not just what the work is, but how we're working in our collective. It's been a growing collective of folks who have been part of shaping this project and process. And these are the principles, these are the embedded values. And they connect us right back into that Black radical feminist tradition. As soon as we got to Colgate, we were hosted by a welcome dinner at the Alana Multicultural Center, and immediately our production stage manager and one of our cast members, Kiara Lucas Evans and Danny Chris, found a photo of Miss Aretha. And we all had a little moment. So I'm just going to play this while I talk a little bit about the third method, which is the aesthetics of care and spirit offering. It's really thinking about what are our connections to each other and how we sustain them. Knowing the dangerous territory that this was in this climate of trauma porn, we really had to enter into the space with the intention to cultivate spiritual warriorship. Cultivating Black women spiritual warriors through performance. And so this ability of having to go there and back again, but also knowing how to enter in and how to come out. So some of the things that we did were figuring out, okay, so every time we have to repeat this narrative, what is the thing that we're going to do to release it so that it's then ritualized in our practice? One of the we learned also from the way that Diamond ended up releasing her trauma with the practice of tapping on Iyanla, and so that became a part of our release. We've taken that on, and if we have time, we may share that with you as well. So even though the piece is calling up trauma, it's also demanding that we enter the wound in order to heal from it. Other things that we did, we assigned roles. So who's going to be the tea maker? Who's going to be the person who will comfort if somebody is having a hard time moving through this? Who's the person that's going to be the inciter? Who's going to change the energy in the room? All of this, the knowledge that these roles are important and matter, has to do with my study in larger indigenous traditions and ritual structure, both in the Americas and in the African diaspora. So the fact that roles need to be assigned. We did several also meditations that grew. So we would start with 3 minutes, it would go to 5 minutes, it would go to 7 minutes of different meditations. One meditation that we did quite a lot because the who, their whole thing is vibrating. They vibrate, their energy, they vibrate. And so, as does everything on this planet. So identifying that through a shaking meditation. We did a laughing meditation. We did affirmations. We did cleansings, the laying on of hands with Florida water. We walked Dambala to access that snake energy. We used the cipher. We sang each other's songs that brought us joy, and then we were able to isolate moments that were really instructive for the peace within that. We searched for light. We blessed each other with light. And this gestural language that we figured out based around sustaining connection actually became the blueprint for how Olodumare, the creator, moves in the beginning of time. is some of our work with light after creating a snail shell out of diamonds. So stuff that we didn't get to in this particular iteration that we will do: moon ceremony in the woods, cleansing with wood chocolate and rose petals at the river, burn our deepest fears in the fire. These are things that are on deck for the process. The fourth method is archiving and transcripts as parables. So looking at, we went through, it must have been at least 40 pages of transcripts of everything that Diamond Reynolds had ever produced, everything from the Facebook Live video, working forwards into, interviews with The View, speaking at protests, all the way up until the most recent, which was Diamond Reynolds being the focus of an episode on Iyanla Fix My Life. And so during that process, we're looking at the headings on some of those posters are, okay, what are quotes that stand out? What are questions? What are sounds? What is the soundscape? What are images? And so, we really, really worked intensively with these archives, and those things that we gathered from the transcripts were central to devising what Diamond's kind of words were, but also what her lessons were and what the symbol system was around how she would enter into the piece. And we found some very interesting crossovers with the story of the goddesses. On another kind of visual board, we had an area where there were questions about the process, about the content, as well as medicines, things that we could offer another at any given moment. So one example is set by Shelley Nicole: time is always our friend, still always. That's an example of the medicines. An example of the questions: how do we tap into the numinous, the cosmic, the invisible with human bodies? And then there are also several quotes as well that are informing our practice, and it's a growing archive as well. One of the things that we learned through the transcripts and through this process of visually archiving is that numbers are spells. And so we were really, really attending to the power of all of the numbers that came up. So a few of them are 468, days Diamond Reynolds has been alive since Philando Castile had been murdered at the taping of Iyanla. She said they were together 365 days a year, 7 days a week. 7, the amount of times he was shot. 2, the number of shots that went into his heart. 9 days before his birthday, he was murdered. July 16th, Philando Castile's birthday. 4 years old is the age of Diamond Reynolds' daughter, who Philando Castile was the father figure to. 8:45 p.m., the time that they were pulled over. 9:20 p.m., the time he was pronounced dead. 32, how old he was at the time of death. 4:33, case number. 23:48, the time Diamond Reynolds finished her investigation after being held at the police station from 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. after the shooting. She says that they treated her like it was her fault. So we're going to show you a scene, but before we do, I'm just going to run through a few of the photos from the workshop production done at Colgate. His altar was on the 16th chair to honor his birthday. This is the moment of the Facebook post. So at this point, I'm going to introduce May Ann Teo. May Ann has been an incredible collaborator, dramaturgy, and collaborative directing as well. And May Ann is going to talk for a moment about what we worked on, where we're at in the process right now, and moving into a scene, a short scene that we'll be sharing.
If you can hear me, will you say, I hear you? I hear you. Thank you, Mia. It is such a powerful thing to be a part of this process. There's a poet who said, "What if every moment of your life you lived as if you needed your entire life to be inside of it?" This work asks that of all of us, that our entire life and lives are present in trying to untangle the chaos of myth and reality. Text work is beyond text work. It requires not only the skill set of looking at the intellectual logic and the emotional logic of characters, but it requires us to enter into a spiritual logic and multiple realms in which these beings traverse in order to arrive at deep truths that Mia is receiving and presenting forward in a script. In this iteration, I was present in the earlier rehearsals at BAX here before we went to Colgate, and it was a deep amount of listening. Mia asked me to talk about process. Deep listening to the work that was happening, the bodies that were vibrating, and shaking forward into what the cosmic realities were that were being put forth in the structure of pages. And what we've done in just a few hours is sort of continue the work that had been started through a lot of work with the body and a lot of image building that happened for Colgate. And we, in this time of a few hours, we have looked at what text can do to open up those realms. So what we'll be showing you is a segment of the script made alive through Stacey Robinson, Kellyanne Campbell, and Remoto. And what we're going to do to initiate the magic of what will happen is, I will describe it to you and then we'll do it together, is we're all going to stand up and we're going to take our chairs. When I count to 3, we will lift our chairs together to shift the space together. And then we will reorient ourselves towards the right corner with the exit sign. Let's stand up. On the count of 3, let's lift our chairs. 1, 2, 3. Let's move them over, reorient. the inside. Swallowing sound, swallowing light. Who get swallowed and pass out. They awaken when
Is this?
hello, hello, hello. Self and self and self.
I don't understand.
Shiny. Hard. Well, iridescent.
I don't understand.
Yes. Iridescent. You have no social emotional skills. Iridescent is not helpful. You're the one who said we should go back.
Can you two just please?
I said we should ask a question, not.
I don't understand.
Ask a question to whom? The creator, right?
Right.
What happened?
This is.
Let's ask the great, the impressor, rainbow black hole some questions, just, you know, for our own information.
Well, they're the one or the many or whatever that sent us out there
Nothing.
with everything.
I don't understand. Maybe we could have actually figured it out, you know, but Miss Impatience.
Asking questions is a sign of maturity.
Maturity, we just got bored.
Some of us were born wise, others were not.
Miss Impatient just had to come back to Oladumare.
You agreed. We were starving. We were going to lose our vibration.
Were we really wisdom? Can you prove it?
We were getting weak.
And you know it.
I don't understand why the two of you are so negative about everything.
We're not negative.
We're negative.
You're negative.
I'm merely comfortable expressing my feelings. What's your excuse?
I'm merely providing a rational perspective.
Rational. Rational beings ask questions.
Timing. It's all about timing. Which from that pathetic Kalunga line walk of yours, I can tell you know nothing about.
Oh, no, you did not. Don't come for my runway walk.
For real though. So much for wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah. No questions, only no answers, only questions. Where's my home? That's what I asked. Buzzing out there in the ether, full of all my insides, wanting release, wanting relief. But only given darkness and space. Was I to drop my children into an empty universe poised to swallow, to float aimless in that black sea like me, like we? Let's try to understand. So we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is here? Self and self and self. Shiny.
Iridescent.
Walls and walls and walls.
Round
walls.
Wet, sticky walls.
Self and self and self. Shiny.
Iridescent.
Walls and walls and walls.
Round
walls.
Wet, sticky walls.
Your domain, my child. Where's this voice coming from? Watch it blossom before your eyes. Enough. This is madness, your domain, my child. We still haven't figured anything out. What? Oladumare just changed their mind? No, you don't belong in that open black. You belong trapped in my belly. Back where we came from. Why would we want to be back where we came from if we was going somewhere? Wisdom, baby, chill. We asked the question, we got the answer. Don't understandable. See? Understanding says it's understandable.
Nothing so damn understanding and have a mind of your own.
I am not a self. I am a self and self and self. That means I have a lot of minds of my own. Hello!
Hello.
See?
Girl.
Girl. Okay. There's a lot. I don't understand.
If we were supposed to be there, we'd be there, but we're here.
Here.
Here. We will learn in time.
Time passes inside the shell. They age. They hum the time away. Clock chimes free. Knowledge and courage begins to vibrate from her vibrating place.
Yes. Shell. Hard, rigid, largely calcareous, covering. Oh! Calcareous, containing calcium, carbonate, chalky, occurring on chalk or limestone. Oh, so exciting! Oh, so many substances, so much to work with, so much to play with. Work hard, play hard, you got this, girl. Do you hear this?
So much to understand.
Keep going. Calcium carbonate, a chemical compound commonly found in rocks, the main component of pearls and shells. Not shells. Shells of marine organisms, snails, eggs. Marine organisms, snails, eggs. Marine life, or sea life, or ocean life.
Stop there.
Wait,
Life.
life.
Wait. We're getting ahead of ourselves. What are all these things?
In the sea,